Hello, my name is Emily Cabrera, and thank you so much for participating in my assignment. Today I will be talking about Abraham Maslow and its application to my teaching philosophy and nursing education. Abraham Maslow seems like a pretty light-hearted figure in this picture, and I'm sure he was in real life, but in reality, he was the father of the humanistic theory in psychology, and he was the creator of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Maslow's hierarchy of needs is a principal theory taught in nursing education, which is applicable to me since I am a nurse educator. A little history about Abraham Maslow. He was born in 1908 in New York City. He was the oldest child to Russian Jewish immigrants. His nickname was Abe. His father was a successful small businessman, and because his father had enough wealth to be able to support his family, Maslow only had to work in small positions such as a delivery boy or a hotel kitchen-aide. And because he had plenty of leisure time in his developmental years, he had lots of time to read, which absolutely helped his theory development when he was in college. Eventually, Maslow developed strong idealistic notations to improve the world through science. So he went to school in New York City College, and Cornell University didn't do too well there, transferred to the University of Wisconsin, and majored in psychology. At the University of Wisconsin, he earned his bachelor's, his master's, and his PhD. Unfortunately, in 1967 he suffered a heart attack, and then in 1970 he had another heart attack, and that's actually what killed him. Much of Maslow's works that were in progress when he passed away were interdisciplinary in action, which is fabulous for nursing because nursing is an interdisciplinary profession. In the hospital we have to work, or in any other nursing jobs, positions, we have to work with occupational therapists, doctors, speech pathologists, radiologists. So just fundamentally, nursing is a perfect profession for Maslow to apply his theory to. When Maslow was studying at the University of Wisconsin, he was training to be an experimental psychologist. There, he was looking at monkeys. As he started to figure out that there was innate biological influences that affect animalistic behaviors, he went on to really start to study humanistic perspectives. So he wanted to go from the animal world to humans. In the 1940s, Maslow steadily advanced a new explanation of human nature. This is when he developed the hierarchy of inborn needs. It's the foundation to his radical theory of motivation. Maslow contended that we all have innate motivational needs, but it's based upon a hierarchy of needs. Starts with physical safety, then belongingness, then self-esteem, followed by self-respect, love, and finally self-actualization, which is the desire to become all that one is capable of becoming in life. Here is a chart that I use when I'm teaching my nursing students on Maslow's hierarchy of needs. His motivational theory is based upon a belief that people are motivated by unsatisfied needs, and that lower needs have to be satisfied before higher needs can be met. The lowest, physiological, which is breathing, food, water, as noted here, etc., must be met in order to get to safety, and then love and belonging, finally esteem and self-actualization, which is your morality, creativity, spontaneity, etc. The fundamental lower order needs, like physiological and safety needs, must be addressed before a person can pursue higher level motivators. In the hierarchy diagram, after a need is satisfied, it is no longer a motivator, and the next level begins to motivate. As life is dynamic, as things happen to us, such as a health crisis, being a patient in the hospital, delivering a baby, having a death in the family, we change our motivation and level. Self-actualization is our goal as we try to reach our full potential. Maslow actually only felt that very few humans will ever fully reach self-actualization. And think about it. Think about your friends. Think about yourself. Do they really lack of prejudice? Or do they accept of facts? In true humanistic forms, we are always in some sort of denial. I have realized long ago when I first started teaching that students love to be in denial, especially about their grades. But let's go on to see how Maslow actually thought the human form develops into this personality structure of the hierarchy of needs. Maslow stated, "It would seem that every human being comes at birth into society not as a lump of clay to be molded by society, but rather as a structure which society may warp or suppress or build upon. I am now struggling with the notion of a fundamental personality structure." How true in humanistic form. He feels that we are already born with what we have, our emotional, our mental, and as we grow, our society around us is going to be changing that, not molding us into who we are. We already have that structure. Society just might warp, suppress, or build upon it. So a little about the humanistic movement, since this was a primary aspect of Maslow's theory. It was started in the 1950s in response to the mechanistic approach taken by the behaviorists and the conflict and distress focused on by the psychodynamic psychologists. Although they accepted that learning was important, they also acknowledged, humanistic psychologists also acknowledged the importance of innate potential and unconscious processes. Their focus was much more optimistic, identifying that the person was an individual, a whole being with unique potential, and that the person offered a spiritual element to psychological theory. They also suggested that all people are moving towards self-actualization to achieve their potential. Unfavorable environments are what disrupt this moving towards the highest level. So when utilizing Maslow in my own teaching, I try to think about the lived experience of the nursing student. Reflecting upon when I was a nursing student, I can definitely relate to how disruptive nursing school is. So when I am teaching my students and trying to understand where they're coming from, Maslow is absolutely the theorist that I go to. Breaking down the nursing student and their needs, psychological needs. Nursing school is very stressful. It's, I would say, one of, the top 5 most stressful degree programs that there absolutely is out there right now in colleges. Physiological needs. They're not eating correctly. They're not sleeping enough. They're trying to study, go to clinical, take care of their family. They're just not taking care of themselves. And a common saying for nurses to say to patients, and I say to my nursing students, if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of others. And that is absolutely true. They come in with big bags under their eyes and not taking care of their fundamental needs. That goes up to safety. If they're not able to sleep enough because they're trying to study and cram before a big test or write their care plan or whatever is applicable at the time, then they're exhausted, and then they go to clinical, and then they drive home, and they're really putting themselves and those around them at safety risk. Social needs, they're not able to spend time with their family and their loved ones. I know some of my nursing students have little children at home. Maybe they're in, infants, but second, third graders, and they're in an evening program, and 4 days out of the week they're not able to see their family because they're either in clinical or in class, and while their kids are at home in the afternoon after school, they're at class. that is a huge impact on their learning. Esteem needs, that just builds. If they're not able to spend time with their family, they're not getting their fundamental needs, they just start to break down. A lot of times they become depressed. They feel like they can't do anything. And self-actualization, if it ever happens to a nursing student, probably only happens when they're walking over that threshold of graduation. And then they start all over again because they have to study for the NCLEX. So nursing students are really at risk for having this hierarchy just crumble underneath them. So let's get into a couple of examples of how I apply Maslow's hierarchy of needs into my theory when I'm being a nurse educator. So here's an example of what I might ask my students. Nurses are expected to provide, in a lecture format, nurses are expected to provide individualized care recognizing the holistic needs of a person. So that is the case study in essence. With this in mind, what do you think asking the students should be the priorities when conducting a physical assessment of the health needs of a person or their patient? So I'm asking them to really think about their patient in live form. What out of the hierarchy of needs needs to be considered first and foremost when caring for this patient? Here's another one. Asking the students, look at your priorities in your holistic assessment of the health needs of a person. Are they the same as Maslow's? If not, why not? So again, asking them to reflect upon their holistic assessment. Here is a YouTube video that I might show in class. It breaks down Maslow's hierarchy of needs and gives applicable examples of what they might see for patients in the hospital going from the PACU to critical care. Really interesting for the students, and they can apply it to their clinical practice. If you have time, take a look. And finally, here are my references. Thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate it, and hopefully I taught enough background into why Maslow's hierarchy of needs theory and how it is applied to my nursing practice. Thanks so much.